Hey everyone, I am Kim Biegler, owner of Ewethful Fiber Mill, and I am here in the mill at the washer with some dirty alpaca fleece, and we are getting ready to wash this. And so let's do this. If you're new, welcome. I talk a lot about wool, owning a wool mill, sheep, hand spinning, yarn, knitting, all those things. And if you're coming back, thank you. Let's wash some alpaca. So I'm gonna flip the camera so you can see, actually, no, I'm not. I'm just gonna get the heck out of the way so you can see what I am doing here, and I'm gonna turn it down. So here is my washer. If you're new, I have a mill, so I have a bit more equipment than you might have at home, but this is the alpaca that I tumbled on the last episode, so feel free to go back. I don't know if I'll be tumbling anymore in this episode, but this is a beautiful like black and charcoal gray alpaca blanket. They are called blankets on alpaca instead of fleeces, but you can call it whatever the heck you want. So this fleece, because I tumbled it, it is more kind of twisted. I'm going to say twisted. The fibers can get twisted on each other in the tumbler because they're literally just being tumbled, right? As if it was in a dryer or something. It's that same motion. So the fibers can get twisted up in there. Not the end of the world, because we're already doing a slow thing, right? Even at the mill, sometimes it goes slower than you might think. Here's a beautiful section that has that charcoaly gray in there. So what I'm doing is opening this up to get out the tangles, basically, because if I wash this alpaca, or if you're going to wash some alpaca at home and it has tangles in it, or it's kind of twisted into each other, you have a much better chance of it getting knotted up and felting on you. So I am just opening it up so that I get out those twists. And yes, it takes a few minutes longer, but is it worth it? Yes. And does it make tumbling worth it? For those of you that did not watch the previous episode, tumbling alpaca fiber is something that I do for all alpaca because they take dirt baths. The dirt really builds up in their wool. And if any of you, which many of you have, I even saw in the comments of last episode, washing alpaca that is filled with dirt is very difficult. It's very difficult to get that dirt out. So I go ahead and tumble it before. And you can see like I have a section here that's a little bit more, it's just kind of tied up on itself. So I just, like you would kind of do with a tangle at home, right? I'll do a little pulling this way and that way in different directions just to open it up. Because if you pull in the same opposite direction and it's tangled, if you keep doing that, it's just like when you have a knot in your hair, right? It's just going to get more knotted up. So anyway, we're trying to get tumbling gets the dirt out. That's the big thing. And it got VM out. This fleece did have, this blanket in some areas did have quite a bit of VM. And now I'm just seeing like little bits here and there. VM does not freak me out because I know my equipment and I know how much will come out along the way. But if you are processing alpaca at home and you open it up and there's all this dirt in there, a dirt plume comes at you, or you start to open it and you realize, oh, there's all this dirt. I would do everything in my power to try to shake that dirt out before trying to wash it, because you can do numerous washes trying to get that dirt out and it's going to take that, right? Whereas this, I've tumbled it, a lot of the dirt has fallen out, most of the VM has fallen out, which is the added bonus, and this will take one wash. That's it. One wash, it's ready to go. So to me, it's worth it. I was thinking, oh my gosh, if you could find like one of those old bingo, I'm not old, I assume they still do it. I don't know. Do they? Maybe it's all technical, whatever the word is. When you would go to bingo and they have the balls and the little cage thing that twirls, that's what a tumbler is. Like if you could find a used one like that, I bet it would do a decent job of tumbling. I guess you would have to do it by hand, but still, who cares if you're like cranking it? I don't know how those machines work, but something to think about. I've never looked at them as far as the netting on them, but it might be something that would work. Okay, in case you come across an old bingo ball thing. Okay, so I am going to finish opening this up. I am going to turn the washer on, and then when it beeps, when it's full of water, I'm going to show you guys, just to show you the difference between when I am washing alpaca and wool, how different the alpaca behaves in the washing machine after the water is added. So I'm going to finish this up and then I'll be back. All right, so my buzzer is going, which means that it's time for me to push down this, and I'm hoping you'll be able to see once the dust settles a little bit there on that. But it is super puffed up. I might have to take you off. I think you can see, but I'll take you off for a sec so you can see how poofed up that is over the line of the water. So here's the water. Here's how poofed up it is. So this is different than wool, because wool, I will give wool a little bit of a push down, but nothing like this. Like, this is me having to fight. I have to fight the alpaca to get it into that water. It just poofs up and it wants to sit on top, and it won't get clean if it's just sitting on top like that. So I'll give it a good push down. It's like pushing the air bubble out so that I can get it to soak. And the water is, there's barely any brown tint to it. So that means we got a good amount of that dirt out. If I hadn't tumbled it, this would be some seriously brown water. So I'm just going to go around and push the air bubbles out of this alpaca, and then the washing machine will do the rest. This will give it a wash cycle. It'll give it 2 rinses, and then we'll be good to go. It can go on to the drying rack. So onward we shall move. All right, we are at the picker, and we have got some of that lovely alpaca and some of the wool that we're blending it with, the Romney Rambouillet cross, and we are going to head over to the picker. And you're gonna have a different view this time because I forgot my microphone, and I don't want you to be too far away because I want you to still be able to hear me well. So I thought we'll just put you kind of over where I'm working, and then you'll just get a better view. I'm gonna throw some fiber over here so you're not, well, let's put you over here. My goodness, changing it all up. So you can see a little bit better what I am doing here, and we'll just talk through this for a minute. So this is that alpaca. It is a smidge bit twisted up still. We opened it up in the washer after tumbling it, and it just got a little bit more. It still had some twist to it. So what I'm doing is just opening up the fiber. So I'll grab a handful that's a little more. You can see how this is pretty dense in here. So I'm just opening it up by hand, and that way the carder will actually be able to open it up the rest of the way. Mainly I'm just focusing on spots where it got a little bit dense and twisted up in between the tumbling and the washing. So I've got alpaca on there, and now I'm just gonna lay, and for those of you listening, the alpaca again is like a dark, really dark, kind of black with smoky gray in it. And then the fiber that I am blending it with is a beautiful, beautiful smoky gray. So I'm putting the alpaca down, then I'm putting the, I'm gonna start the machine up. And it could get a little loud, and I'm going to remember to do something to plug the machine. Just a second. Sorry, not plug the machine, but plug, there was fiber flying everywhere out the doors on my picker room. So I am going to go ahead and start the machine. Hopefully you'll still be able to hear me okay. So the fiber is going in, and I just kind of have it, again, like that's even a little heavy how I had it. So I'm just gonna keep doing that. We're gonna open up some alpaca, and it's interesting because it's always hard for me to get enough alpaca in there. I weigh out, and this is probably 60% wool, 40% alpaca, so pretty heavy on the paca. And I weigh it out, and then it's always like, alpaca is so light that getting the alpaca all in the way that I card it is sometimes hard. It's all I'm just eyeballing, and then I get to the end and I'm like, oh, there's more alpaca, which is okay because this will get blended. And then I tend to, when I am at the carder, I'll mix up my bins that I am carding from, so everything kind of evens out in the end. But I'm just going to go ahead, and this is a chunk I can feel is probably britch or something there down by the rear, and it's a little crunchy on the wool, so I'm going to take that out. I'm just going to go ahead and keep going along, opening up the alpaca a bit. I say this a lot, but I like to think that some of my craziness about how much time I take in processing stuff, that it yields the best possible product for you all that can. And this fiber will go up for sale, obviously. And with the alpaca, there's a more amount of it because I was able to extend this fleece. And my Patreon viewers that are paid, Patreon subscribers, will get first dibs at it. And when you see it all picked out, I pulled the first batch out already and was like, oh my goodness, this is pretty heavenly stuff. I'm excited to get it on the carder next week. Today is Saturday, so I just came in for a few hours. We've got a family little birthday party to go to in the evening, early evening. So I just came in for a few hours to work on this. So I'm not going to make you stand here and watch all of this, but I think you get the gist. And I'll take you over to the end here so you can see what's going on. And then when I open it up, I'm just pulling out. When you see me pulling stuff, it's either VM or it's like chunks of wool that I'm like, a little crunchy. As far as like, not the stuff that we want to spin. So, here's our wall of fluff. And you can see, if I put it up, how much of the alpaca was trying to fly out the door. So I kind of lodged something in there. And as soon as this is, I'm going to finish, and then I'll go ahead and open the door and we can see how lovely it looks. But I'm not getting humidity, which is great because it's a little bit drier right now. So, perfect. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, you all, we are done picking this out. And I'm going to show you this. It is really beautiful. And so, as usual, what I'll do is, oh my goodness, you can't see all the fluff everywhere that's up above this shot, but there's stuff everywhere. That was my filter that just dropped. That helps kind of catch stuff from getting pulled up into the exhaust fan as far as fiber. We want it to pull other things. So I'll just pull it out. We'll get it into bins. I'll condition it lightly. Or, yeah, most of the time I condition my stuff pretty lightly. And then it'll be ready for carding next week. I'm going to grab a big pile of it so you can see, but hopefully I'm not too much in the way. And you can see how pretty it is, but I'll hold the bin up here. Whoop, my skirt's stuck in there. Look at that. Doesn't that look gorgeous? It's going to be some really beautiful stuff to process. So that's it for that. We will get this over on the carder in this episode because, like I said, it's only Saturday, so we've got time, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear all this enough, at least enough. If you've watched before, you know the drill with different fiber, and as people have told me, it does not get old to watch this, so I'm glad because it doesn't get old for me, but you never know. Okay, we'll head to the carder next. Okay, everyone, I am sitting at home. There's likely going to be a cat that runs through here, but I am sitting at home and I was going to show you what I have been working on because we are doing a little spin to knit or crochet along, whatever it is you want to along with. And I am doing some Shetland and our dog hair. And the dog hair I got, and I'm doing it on my blending board. We just did a blending board workshop over in Patreon. It is there and recorded. So if you have a blending board that you haven't used yet, or it's been sitting away because you're not super comfortable with it, you might want to check that out. So I just thought I would run through and kind of show you what I've been doing. And I'll just do a little bit and then I'll pull these off, do a sample of pulling these off. And then this is a little bit more twisted than I need it to be. And then show you some spinning of it. So I am, pick that little bit of VM out. I just have the board in between my legs and just gonna do a base layer that is Shetland, and then I've been doing some dog hair in between. It's our dog Cash, who he was at the groomer, and I'm not getting a good grip on this going in, but he was at the groomer and I showed up and they hadn't cleaned up the floor yet. So I said, hey, can I have that? And they were like, shockingly, you are not our first person to ask for that. So I grabbed up some of his. I'm trying to find the brush I have. All organized still. And you can see this did not go in very well, but we're going to push it down with our brush a little bit. And anyway, so I grabbed up what was on the floor, which is lovely because, so it was his undercoat. He has so much undercoat. He's like a Pyrenees cross. And so I got that. And I've just been doing little roll lags with that and some of the Shetland that I have that is already, I'm gonna put a little bit more in there because you can see it's not very full. So we're gonna, this is not the longest Shetland, so I'm gonna try to do a better job here of catching some of it in. Going a little slower, and it's always one thing to do it when you're doing it, and then another thing to do it when you're talking, which I like to do on here so that you guys aren't bored, but I gotta pay a little bit of attention. So I'm just stripping this like kind of in strips, running it down. And then I will do a little layer of dog hair. I am definitely doing more Shetland to this than dog hair. And his hair is, you know, it's what was on the floor at the groomer. So I'm not going to say it's like the best dog hair, but since it's not down so much. So I'm just tamping this down, going through, and we had a really fun workshop. Well, I had fun. I think everybody else had fun, and that there were lots of questions answered, and that some people were inspired that maybe if they have a blending board at home, that they'll use it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some dog in here. Just kind of doing the same thing, letting it catch a little bit. And then what I'll do is go ahead and do another layer of, and some of this, when I'm spinning it, like there'll be little chunks that are shorter. So those I just pull out because of course they did clip him. Most of this is pretty good undercoat, but, and you know, there are some other fibers that aren't the most beautiful, but I just pick at them as I go. And I will likely be making them mitts. We've got a couple patterns and you can still join. There is a, on Ravelry, we have people that are discussing and showing. Some people already have it done. So I'm just going ahead and these little white fluffs I'm going to pull out and laying a little bit of his fiber down. I'll tamp it down and then I'm going to go ahead and put a little Shetland, and I'm not going to have you watch all of that the second time around, but I'll tamp this down and then you all can kind of see how this looks on the board. And I kind of, because this is a little bit shorter, I do little, I kind of pop up and down a little bit and then I brush it down just to make sure that the fibers stay in there. My Shetland's a little bit shorter too. I'm not sure why. Who knows? Who knows? I'm just going to fill in a couple little spots and then I'll go through, I'll do the Shetland one more time on top, and I do the wool on the bottom just so that it helps hold. It helps with when you're pulling the Rolex off that all the fibers come up so you don't have a lot of other stuff. If I put the dog first, I think a lot of this dog would get caught up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and hopefully you can see that well. So I'll put another layer of Shetland over this and then I'm going to pull some Rolex off. So I'll show you that in just a sec. Okay, so we have our loaded up board here, and now I'm going to start pulling Rolex off, and I'm just going to use the fibers that are hanging off the end here, and we'll start rolling around and then grab the other dowel. This is kind of the most complicated part, right? Just to get your Rolex started. And you are doing a little bit of drafting when you do rollags, and the middle part is where it just takes a second to get everything to kind of catch and not just roll along the rollags. But I'm doing a little bit of a lift, so there's a little degree angle as I pull off. And then I also am drafting. So I'll try to move the camera here in a sec so you can see a different angle. And I like to kind of give my dowels a little shimmy shake so that I'm not, rolling this so tight that it is a pain to get off. So I'm gonna move you, I don't know, maybe right over there. And you might be able to see that I have a little angle here off. I'm hoping that you can see because I have this turned so that you can actually see me well. So I'm doing a little drafting and I'm pulling a little bit out and then I'm doing a turn. Pulling a little bit out at that angle and then doing a turn. And it's just the easiest way. So you are doing a little bit of drafting. So the fibers are running through the tines a little bit more, which does help kind of make for a bit of an easier spin. So I do about 1/3 of the way up. You can run as many rollags as you want off of one, but I tend to do about 3. So I'll pull this one. And then we're gonna push one dowel while we pull the other so we can get this off. And there's one rollag done. So I'll just keep going up the board, take 2 more, I'll get 2 more out of this batch, and then we'll head over to the wheel and do a little bit of spinning, which is what we're here for, right? And it takes a little bit of just getting used to this. Like my first rollags were so stinking tight, and they get better. As you get more comfortable using the tools, everything will get better. It's like anything with fiber and spinning. Practice, right? Okay, I just wanted to grab one more angle for you. I'm doing the last one and hopefully I don't hit the camera too many times. This is a little awkward because I was trying to get the camera in and also have enough pressure to hold this in place. So I'm going to use my fingers here to just start this little middle part here so that everything is actually drafting, but I'm hoping you can kind of see that those fibers are drafting a bit off. I don't have my middle quite caught yet, so I'm going to use my fingers to catch those middle bits. And I've got a little angle off of the carder. I may have just lost my one side. So not the most gracious, but I think you can hopefully see that I'm doing a little pulling and a twist, a little drafting and a twist. And I lost some of this along the way over on this side. So I'm just going to try to get it back so that it's continuing to pick up. There we go. We've got everything back on. So that's all there is to it. A little draft and twist, a little draft and twist. And you can see most of the fiber is off. I mean, the goal is that you don't have much fiber left on your blending board. When you get to the top, sometimes it can be a little. So I just will let that. I'll just clean off the last little bits of fiber and I would start doing more rollags. But right now we're going to go over and spin a little bit. Okay, see you at the wheel. All right, so we are at my Magic Craft rows. I am going to do just a little bit of prep. So I just pull some of the end of the row lag up before I start spinning, like whatever end you choose. To do that to loosen things up a little bit. And I am spinning this short forward because some of Cash's hair is pretty short and I just wanted to make sure I got enough twist to really capture all those short hairs. But you can see, and yes, I am wearing 2 different color socks. So just so you know, I am aware. But it is spinning up really nice. It's pretty smooth. Like I said, I like to sort of loosen up the end of each row lag just to make it easier to spin. And if you're listening to this, I will have a link in the show notes so you can pop over and watch this episode if you're like, what is she talking about, loosening up the end of the row lag? But that's something I do just to get things loose. And sometimes I'll do a little rotate because the fiber gets a little twisted when it's in the row lag. So if there's any twist in the row lag, right, then it's already got twist in it. So that's going to make it harder to spin. So I'm just going along and I will definitely show you this. I think it's fun. If I come across like big chunks of fiber that I don't want, I just pull them out as I go along. Like, again, this is not perfect. This is, like I said, I think I'm gonna do mitts out of it. I'll see once the yarn is finished what it feels like. But this is my first time working with dog hair, so that's pretty fun. And the blending forward just seemed like a fun way to do that. And you saw how, like, it took me like 2 more minutes to load up another level of Shetland on there. And then I was ready to make row lags. And so, you know, you're looking at maybe 10 or 15 minutes, depending on what you're doing, to load up the board. And then it comes off in a breeze. And you can easily get about 1 ounce of fiber on each load on the board. So it doesn't take long to come up with 4 ounces of fiber that you can spin. Okay, I am going to stop spinning, which, as we know, always is hard for me to do. So I'm going to stop and I'll come in and let you guys take a peek at it. I'll take you off the tripod. And there's our fiber, Shetland and dog hair. So I'm excited to get this into yarn and then to start working with it. Yay, Cash, good job, and yay, Shetlands. Okay, if you are interested in checking out that workshop, I kind of walk step by step and talk through everything and how I'm doing it. And it's over in Patreon. You do have to be a Cooney or a Shetland level subscriber to get the workshops, but it's sitting there along with other workshops ready to be watched. So, okay, let's move on. All right, we are at the carder. I have got the alpaca Rommeldale Rambouillet cross on the feed, but we're on the other end waiting for it to come out the very first bit. So I'm going to hit the button. I do not have my microphone because I'm the worst this week. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting ready to leave for this Costa Rica trip, and I think I'm starting to get discombobulated as we get ready. My thoughts are in preparation for that. It's also really dry in the mill, so hasn't been the best week for doing anything, which is why there aren't a ton of carding videos, because I kind of had to just give up a bit. All right, here we go. Here's our fiber, which did smoothly come out. And we're going to go down to the other end, but we can see it's starting to come out here. We'll let that accumulate a little bit. It's still pretty thin. And we'll go to the other side. And here's our fiber. I don't have the lights on because I just don't need anything else drying the mill out right now. Whoops, sorry you all. So there it is. Gorgeous, gorgeous piles of fluff. And I'm just going to have to see if this starts to misbehave. I did condition it pretty well the other day. But we're just on the cusp of what conditions I don't like. The other day I was finishing up some of that Shetland mohair and it was not going well with the dry weather. And I'll show you when we get back to the other end what that looks like. I'm just going to get this set up for a little bit more. We'll top down and see so I can get this in the bucket. We're all over the place. Woo! My goodness, you all. color. That is literally the color it is. I'll scroll in a little bit and pick it up. Ooh. I'm going to stop it and let you all see. Isn't that gorgeous? That's beautiful. It's like this beautiful smoky deep gray. And the fleece kind of had, sometimes you'll get that gray blue color in wool or in gray. And look at that. Just beautiful. So it's carding up beautifully. Hopefully it will stay. I'm not super convinced that this is going to hold for me. I do have my ionizing bars here, which if I pull you out, you'll see. This is an ionizer bar, and what it does is it helps cut the static electricity as it's coming out of the machine, which helps here. It does not help when it's inside the actual carder, and I'm seeing just a little bit. So I don't know how much of this will be able to card up today, but at least I got to show it to you. And I'm going to give it a go. But what happens when it's too dry in the building, among other things, besides it not processing as well, it will start to kick up. So it'll back up really easily. Like if I start to get fiber coming up and it doesn't have enough room to drop, it's always a possibility, but when it is staticky, it's more prone to getting static, and then it will start wrapping into this bottom roller, and it's shocking how much fiber can get built up on that roller in just, the 30 seconds while I go to the other side. So we'll see. And I'll go spin just a little bit of this and we'll say goodbye for the day, but in love, it's gonna be gorgeous. Okay, let's spin a little bit and then we'll say goodbye for this week. All right, we are here at the Lendrum. I do have matching socks on today, so that's exciting. And we're about to spin up some of this. I think that's the right. Don't forget when you start a fiber that there, generally speaking, is an easier end to spin from. I think I grabbed it correctly. Anyway, this Lendrum, I should mention, does need a new home. It's been here in the mill for a while, and it doesn't need to be anymore because this is all I'm using it for. So I want to let it go at a very good price. So if anybody is interested, if you're on a budget and you're looking for a great wheel, it's a single treadle Lendrum. It's in beautiful shape. It comes with 2 bobbins. So send me an email. That's probably the best way to reach me. And you can find links to track me down in the show notes. And I can ship it because I still have the person that I got it from had the original box, so it makes it even easier to ship. So anyway, speaking of things that need new homes, we have a cat that showed up on the farm, and she also needs a home. Whoa, sorry you all, had it too far away. And as we all know, if you've been watching for a while, this wheel is not my go-to wheel. This is one that's just at the mill, so bear with me. Anyway, we have a cat that showed up on the farm that needs a home. So if anybody in the area, she is the sweetest thing. She was at the vet this morning. They said they think she's maybe 1.5 years or so. Her ear was tipped, so she's already spayed. We just got her all vaccinated and did all that stuff. If nobody comes forward interested in her, I'll put some pictures up. She will most likely come to live here with a Wish. So anyway. All right, so we have got this Romney Rambouillet cross blended with alpaca. We've got it on the wheel. I have the wheel set to a faster whirl size so that I get twist in a little bit faster. I'm spinning it long draw because I'm not spinning long draw at home. And I'm just gonna make sure you can see as I'm spinning long draw. And I just wanted to spin a little long draw because it's so nice and fast. And this fiber is, of course, spinning up beautifully. I'm actually a little bit warm today. It's very chilly outside, but I wore my alpaca sweater and whew, I'm a little warm. I think my palms are a little bit sweaty. So it's beautiful. What can I say? It's spinning up gorgeous, spinning it nice and thin. This is about a 60-40. I think I said that earlier, but 60% wool, 40% alpaca. Patrons will get first dibs at it. I'll set a little bit aside for mill day. And I have a feeling there won't be any left after
Patreon and Mill Day, but it's definitely worth getting on my newsletter for if you are not, because that's also where you get reminders and updates and things like that about fibers. So, or you can head to the Patreon and get early bird notice on things. This is going to be stunning, and this would be next to skin, I would say. So, fast twist going in, because I was doing a nice thin fiber out of it. Alpaca is obviously a slick fiber, or maybe not obviously if you're newer to spinning. It'll spin up nice and thin for you, and you want to have more twist when you're spinning something nice and thin. So let's go in and we will see what this yarn is looking like. Because yet again, here I could be all day long. All right, let me take you off the tripod. And we'll pop in. You can see it's that beautiful dark right there. I know there's a lot of natural colors on there, but there's the yarn off. Really gorgeous. So, okay, I'm gonna flip so I can say goodbye and take these off because you can't see me. Anyway, everybody, I hope you are doing okay out there. It can be a bit of a rough week for some of us. And so I hope that everybody has a little sympathy for those around them, even if you don't necessarily agree. And for those of you that are feeling targeted, given some of the stuff that's happened in our country over the past couple days, I want you to know that I support you. And this community, the Ewethful community, is here for you, and anybody is welcome with kindness, right? Kindness is what we're all about. So there's our train. Everybody take care. Try not to be too hard on yourself or too hard into social media. I did want to mention that I am not on Instagram. I am not actively on Instagram or Facebook anymore. It was time for me to say a fond farewell with everything that's going on. I just wasn't right for me anymore. How's that? So you obviously can still find me on YouTube. I hope to be writing a little bit more on my blog. My audio podcast, Handspin, is still there. And of course, you can email or get into the Ewethful Patreon community because it's a wonderful, inclusive, supportive, and creative space of people. So until next time, take care of yourselves. Be kind to everybody around you. We don't know everybody's story, right? So let's all just try to be kind. Stay healthy and make so many pretty things. I will see you next week.